On Saturday, May 20th, 1978, the lives of a young pastor and his family were forever changed when a fire ripped through their small kitchen, nearly consuming their 2-year-old daughter, Becky. John and Brenda Vaughn had just moved into their first home together in Greenville, South Carolina, with their children Debbie, 9, John, 8, and 2-year-old Becky. They moved to Greenville to attend college, where John would prepare for pastoral ministry. He took classes, worked for UPS, operated a small lawn business, and ministered in a fledgling church, Faith Baptist. The evening of the fire, while Pastor Vaughn was away, Brenda was baking a cake to prepare for Sunday. A gas can spilled in the utility closet near where Becky was playing. Unbeknownst to Brenda, the liquid had spread into the kitchen and was quickly ignited by the oven. Becky was immediately engulfed in flames. Brenda moved to rescue her daughter and suffered serious injuries. As Pastor Vaughn arrived home, he found his wife and daughter being cared for by paramedics. Overwhelmed by the scene, he moved close to Brenda and said, "The Lord is in control here, honey. We have to trust Him." Little did they know how the events of that night would build their faith and change their story. Brenda sustained third-degree burns over 65% of her body, and Becky sustained third-degree burns over 95% of her body. Neither was given a high chance of survival. Because there was no local burn unit, Brenda was transported to the Medical University of South Carolina in Charleston, where she would spend the next several months receiving the necessary skin grafts and treatment. Becky was transferred to the Shriners Hospital Burn Unit in Cincinnati, Ohio, where she would spend a tenuous year. Becky remained unconscious until Christmas of 1978. That December, 6 months after the fire, Becky awoke, her eyes latching onto her mother. Pastor Vaughn records, "Becky looked first at me and then at Brenda. As she stared into her mother's eyes, she began to breathe very deeply and rapidly. Her mouth opened into a big smile as tears streamed down her cheeks. There was not a dry eye in the unit as doctors and nurses looked on. Neither Brenda nor Becky saw the scars. They only saw each other." But while conscious, Becky was not out of danger. For the next year and a half, she would face amputations, endure multiple skin grafts, and battle many infections. There were several days when her life seemed to hang by a thread. Sometimes members of the hospital staff resuscitated her. After over a year in the Shriners Hospital, both in Cincinnati and Greenville, Becky would return home in July of 1979. Already, her life was changing the storyline for her family and community. News Channel 4 and the local paper, the Greenville News, picked up the story. Churches around the world were praying for her. Faith Baptist Church grew as it ministered to others who were hurting, sharing with them the grace of God. On the day of her homecoming in Greenville, a large crowd gathered at the airport to welcome her. Family, friends, community members, and the local news all gathered to celebrate the miracle of Becky's survival and her return home. While the family adjusted to caring for Becky, changing bandages, making accommodations, and traveling to Cincinnati for constant surgeries, one need soon arose that had no solution: school. Becky was fast approaching first grade with no viable opportunities. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, the local public schools were not equipped to educate her, and a private school for special needs children didn't exist. And so, trusting God, Faith Baptist Church pioneered Hidden Treasure Christian School, with Becky as one of their first 2 students. As Becky progressed through her education, the school grew. Today, it has its own building, having taught hundreds of students with varying educational and vocational needs. The school is based on the hidden treasure principle. We all have everything we need to do God's will for our lives. This truth is taken from 2 Corinthians 4:7. The Apostle Paul says, "But we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that the surpassing power belongs to God and not to us." It was Becky's story that gave new expression to this truth that is still impacting lives to this day. Becky would graduate high school from Hidden Treasure in 1994 and go on to complete college in 2009, earning a Bachelor of Arts degree in counseling. But this education was just the groundwork for her life ministry. She has traveled to Guam, Japan, and many states, speaking to various groups about God's mercy and goodness in her life. She has volunteered time answering the phones for a local suicide hotline, listening to the suffering of others, and sharing her own story. Every day, her life tells the story of God's goodness and grace. Every day, Becky's story changes the lives of others. Today, Becky faces a new challenge, her long-term care. With Pastor Vaughn having suffered a severe stroke in 2022, resources are appropriately being used for his care. Becky is unable to pay for housing and ongoing needs, as she depends on disability benefits and other government assistance. Local apartments equipped for her care are beyond her financial ability. Thankfully, a generous donor has loaned the family funds to purchase a home for Becky. Less than a mile from her church friends and support at Faith Baptist, this home is currently being equipped to accommodate her needs. Becky's life has changed the lives of so many, and now it's our turn to change her life forever. Join us as we provide for Becky's future. Go to beckyshome.com and make your tax-deductible donation today.